Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Kirby, and I'm the chair of the Jewish Community Relations Committee through the Jewish Federation and Jewish Foundation of Nashville and Middle Tennessee. Welcome back to our Lunch and Learn after our Pesach break. We are delighted to have with us today Fei Wu. She's a musician and a composer. She composed the piece Hello Gold Mountain, which was inspired by real stories of Jewish refugees who fled to Shanghai from Europe before and during World War II and built lives in China. Welcome, Fei. We're delighted to have you with us today. Can you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself and what led you to become a composer?
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, everyone, for having me and hosting me. My name is, you can call me Fei. Fei is given name, and Wu is family name. So in most Asia, family name goes first. So you can call me Fei or Wu Fei. And I was born and raised in Beijing, China. So how I became a musician, my parents decided it for me before I really understood what was happening, what was coming to my life. So at the time when I grew up in China, it was just right after the Cultural Revolution. So China was ready to open up and to the rest of the world and to make progress and to be modernized. And so I was also the first generation of single children, if you have heard of that, parents were not allowed to have a second child. So I was the first one and the only. So my generation basically had to carry a lot of our parents' generation's dream that when they were young, the dreams were just shattered during the revolution. So therefore, my parents saw, okay, our life was, not going to get any further, but finally we have the freedom and the chance to help my child too. So. And then somehow they saw music talent in me, and after to be confirmed by two music professors in China to test my pitches and touch my hands, the bone, to see if I'm qualified physically as a musician. If my hearing was good, they decided, okay, she can do this. So I think I was maybe 3.5-ish. When that event happened, I don't have memory of that meeting. And then by 5, I started to take music lessons, private music lessons, the guzheng, the Chinese traditional zither, at 5. And then by the age of 7, I started piano, because there's just so much, because I was studying Chinese traditional music and Western classical music, which required a lot of music theory, music history, which piano was the ultimate instrument to cover all these areas of knowledge. And and just practiced a lot since I was 5, about average 2 hours a day, no break. And then a lot of competitions. So, and then by the age of when I was 15, I got into the China Conservatory of Music to be a composer, to write for all sorts of, piano, string quartet, guzheng, or vocal choral music. And then during that time, China was opening up more and more, and there was a lot more international exchange. And I was very interested in international culture. We were hosting ensembles, orchestra from Australia, from Hungary, from America, from England. So I was so I was also helping my school as a translator, and my English was good. And I got a lot of opportunities to make friends during that time. And so that made me decide, okay, I want to go out of China to see what's happening outside, because the instruments and the languages and the traditions, and I didn't even know that let's say the dulcimer. The first time I thought it was only Chinese dulcimer, but I learned about the Hungarian dulcimer from a music school director who came. He's a Hungarian dulcimer master. So I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And then by the age of 20, 21-ish, I transferred to America, another music school. And then I kept pursuing my music career as a composer and performer throughout, and the master's degree in California, and then moved around all over America, just out of curiosity. I was very interested. I realized because America was as big as China, every state, every province, and they're like, oh wow, people are so different. When I lived in Oakland and I visited Boulder, Colorado, I was like, wow, it's very different. and then from Boulder, I moved to Brooklyn. There's another difference, like so different, and then the geography and the climate and the people. So and I kept moving around, and then at the same time, music just was blossoming. And I kept meeting musicians from all sorts of genres. Eventually, that I started recording, come to Nashville, because Nashville is music city. I started meeting really some of the best pickers from Nashville who were actually doing shows in Brooklyn, in New York. And then we became friends. And then they were like, oh, you want to come to Nashville to record on an album? I was like, yeah. I was like, I heard great things about Nashville. So, and then eventually my music friendship brought me to settle in Nashville with my family from actually Beijing, but from also South Africa. Yeah, we're kind of like all over. But now me, my husband, and our 2 children, and my parents as well, we have settled in Nashville since 5 years ago. So I've just been composing and doing music basically throughout my, and then I'm started homeschooling my children from a year ago when the pandemic started. That also has given me a life-changing perspective, and in all good ways. So, going through hard time, like even during actually the Nashville, as a mother, the first time living back in America, that's when I started brewing the idea, when Leslie just now mentioned the project Hell Mountain. I actually discovered the story, the history, longer, 10 years ago. I was a documentary film fan, so I was going through all the international documentary films in the Boulder Library, and one film was called the Shanghai Ghetto. And the front page looked entirely like the old, from the 30s in Shanghai, but was Jewish people in front of the stores, and then in Shanghai. So that I was not taught at all in Chinese school, nor in American. So I was fascinated by then. That must be 15 years ago or 14 years ago. I discovered through this documentary, and that I was a mess. Like, I used probably the whole box of tissues just because I was crying so much watching through the whole documentary. It changed my life, that documentary, and I started wanting to discover more, because it's such a tremendous historical event, such a heavy weight, and that no one seemed knew about it. And then that also, it was like connecting my birth country and I would say adopted country, China and America. It was such a huge connection, and that moved me. And so after I became a mother, coming back to America, kind of like a reverse cultural shock in a way. And also under President number 45. So there was all sorts of strong emotions that came out of me, that I felt, what can I do to my children's generation? And what, as a composer, what can I do better than just, fulfilling my, my strings and keys? And so I felt much more of a greater purpose than before, when I was just like a single girl writing music, touring. So that, and then I had a grant music grant opportunity. Actually, it was submitted to New York, this national grant foundation, and I had was working with Chatterbird Ensemble, which is a contemporary classical music ensemble based in Nashville. And also at the same time, I contacted Deborah, and I contacted Michael Gross, and I contacted Turk. So it was, and then everyone just came on board of wanting to support and hearing more and helping, and Vanderbilt as well. So it was such a team effort to make this big piece realized in to premiere at Blair, and then not only that weaved the Chinese and the Jewish community together, but also because Nashville also learned through Turk that Nashville has been the big hub of refugees of today. There's just so many refugees from Syria or Southeast Asia or Sudan. So I just felt, and then when I even gave a performance at the Turk for the community, for the refugee community, a lot of them didn't even speak English, but they were all kind of in tears that they felt through the music. They hear their own story, how they made it through out of the war zone of their current home country, and then made it to Nashville. So that was a very also life-changing project and composition that changed my life, and have done amazing things in my life in terms of being a composer, being an artist, and humanity, what it really means all in one. Because I was never really taught since I was a kid. I was just trained to be a virtuoso, and maybe my teachers had taught me something like that. But as a 6-year-old, I'm like, oh, I don't understand. But now, really living through all these, even right now, how we are communicating through Zoom is still, we're in almost like a contemporary warfare in a way that so a lot of emotions and perspectives. I don't even have to seek it. It's like boom, just pounding on me. So that's how kind of today I would just kind of fast forward to where we are today.
It's fascinating, and it sounds like you built an amazing team of people to help you put the composition into existence. But can you talk a little bit more about the process? So between seeing the documentary film in Boulder and being kind of compelled by the story to putting together this amazing team, what happened for you internally as an artist that made you feel like you needed to do this particular composition?
Thank you for asking me this question, Leslie, because it's a decade of self-educating and self-realization. And during the 10 years, I didn't think about, oh, I'm gonna one day turn into a big, music piece when I watched the documentary. And I think as maybe an artist or as a sensitive person, I was just shocked and so haunted in a way, just seeing and also moved by the history, how strong because the Jewish people were under the attack of German Nazis, and the Chinese was also under attack, invasion of Japan, and just basically being, and then I think that impact, impact, but combined with the maturity and my education at that level, I was like in my late 20s. And that opened up more of either the curiosity and then the urge of wanting to learn more about truth. What happened, whether it's from another group of community, another country, another time, it's just like how much do I not know? How much there is such a heavy, important piece of truth and fact. So I started wanting to do that, and I felt through art, it was just quicker and easier somehow to get to the truth, those truths, because politicians were in the old time and ancient, they could change the words, they could tear the pages out of certain, but when it's a piece of art or painting on a wall, on a cave, or something that's a sculpture, a stone, or a building, or an instrument, that also how much history has gone into of development of the art. You can't change that. You can't, you can't manipulate that if we just read. So that took me to, I started touring more, in as much as outside of my comfort zone, outside of the things that I already knew. So I was very, always wanting to learn more about the unknowns, and then culture from where I haven't been to, or write music for instruments that I haven't seen before. As an artist, I always want to have a new challenge, but also to hear, oh wow, that's how the classical became classical. It was somewhat invented from 500 years ago. When it was invented, it was avant-garde at that time. And then when it's really had a truthful meaning throughout human history, and then it stayed and became classical. So I see that's my role in time to do this as well. So I wasn't afraid of, okay, I just got to follow. So anyways, I just kept going. And then also writing for a large scale of chamber orchestra had always been my dream. It's, for a composer, that's kind of also in the form is also it's much more challenging, and takes more skills to master, to writing for, let's say, 30 people or 80 people instruments, than just doing solo. Writing good music is always hard, and no matter what. However, there's a certain kind of a skill that I was always trained to as a child composer, that like the ultimate goal is to write symphony orchestra and an opera, and that. So that, and at the time, so that was a lot of kind of from the music perspective, and the humanitarian perspective, and the cultural perspective. And I also have been encouraged by my colleagues throughout the year that my best work is yet to come. I was like, I knew it. So I was just kept pushing myself, and then having that faith in me was like, that's what I'm gonna do. And then, but I knew I need to be somehow, because I also, when I studied the classical composers like Samuel Barber, Stravinsky, and Shostakovich, all of them, there was just somehow in Beethoven, the time of the historical piece when they wrote, and the Chopin, when they wrote the Revolution, etude, it was like they were being pounded their heart. There was really a big event happened that they couldn't ask for. It has to happen to them. So I knew, and then after returning to America, after living in Beijing for a few years, and I became a mother, and also living through the time that our country was going through, I was also much more matured, in terms of life experience, and also writing craft, and also had traveled more wider than just the time when I discovered the Shanghai Ghetto documentary film. And then I started to recognize this is the moment that was coming. And so when somehow, I think after 10 years of emotional prep and life experience, I knew the music, whatever you call it, the music was for 50%. The next 50% is just labor to peel my imagination, the sound, into paper, into notes. Because really the hardest part is to get that boom is in my head, it was ready to come out. So, and then really towards the end, when I started working with Chatterbird, with the local art organizations, and I didn't know much about grants at all throughout my music career. I was mostly just touring musician, had agent, and so when this opportunity was informed by my colleagues in Nashville, I said, yeah, I've been wanting to write this this historical and really echo with the foundation's map fund foundation's mission as well. So it just boom, it just kind of came, but the boom took 10 years to really to get to that boom, and as also, so that's how it came out. And also this piece, besides me, it features the oud, my one of my best collaborators, my best friend Chenier Blumenkranz, who's an oud master. And the oud, the instrument symbolizes, is from the traditional Jewish tradition as well, from the Middle East. And the oud, there's the Arabic oud, there's the Jewish oud, there's the Turkish oud, and there's the North Egyptian oud. It's like, it's so ancient. It's the 3,500 years old string instrument that I play the guzheng. The guzheng has 2,500 years old. I thought, oh, guzheng was so old. And then Chenier started playing the oud. So, oh, you are 3,500 years old. Oh my goodness. So, and then we started to play, and then it's all those years of history. Yeah, it's hard to describe how it came together. So also, yeah, Chenier, playing with Chenier was also my long time dream too. That I met him in Brooklyn when I was living there, and then started playing. And he is also one of the most talented musicians in my lifetime, that I felt like I want to come up with a project that I can get to also play with Chenier again, because he's just so talented and is so beautiful. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that came together, and then Chenier was the perfect artist to be featured in this project. And so I also had a personal reconnect with one of the best musicians in the world right now.
That's amazing. I understand that your husband has a family story of leaving Germany and going to South Africa. Did that in any way affect this particular piece?
I think so. I think it might even started from watching the Jewish Ghetto film, and then somehow just I was getting much more interested in the connection of the Jewish people and the Chinese people, even from there. So it just kept moving me towards that direction. Yeah, my husband's family, they escaped. A few escaped from Poland, and a few from Latvia, and a few from, I think primarily it was Poland, and a little bit also maybe one aunt was in East Germany, and then Poland, and then Latvia, and some escaped went to South Africa, and some came to America, Brooklyn and Chicago. So that's their story too. And then my husband actually moved to China in 1995 after college. So he had always also wanted to learn or know more about China when he was a young teenager. So he went to Beijing. I didn't know him, so somehow our orbits, our interest of each other's culture, and then we ended up forming our family together. Yeah.
So I understand that during the pandemic, you've been doing little mini compositions and sending them out every week.
Yes, Leslie. It's called, I call it Wu Fei's Music Daily. It's on Substack. There's also a new platform of kind of helping independent writers to write, and but somehow they had this podcast function. I was like, podcast? That's for musicians. And I was like, it's MP3. So since the music touring, because that's my main my profession is to go out and give live concerts, and then I had to stop. So I felt I just need to write music. I've been doing that since I was a child, and so I've been releasing. At the beginning it was every day, actually 7 days, 7 every day, and then I got to like 200 episodes, and so I'm maybe I can utilize a weekend to just recharge. And then now it's the formally is Monday through Friday. Every morning I send out a sometimes it's as short as can be just 2-3 minutes, sometimes it's a long improvisation, could be as long as 8-10 minutes, just one track. And so I send out every morning, but the music is usually recorded or created the previous day. And it's also been amazing that start doing daily music, is that I used to know nothing about recording, because I was always just I just needed to show up at the studio, and then there's engineers, it's their job to do all these things, set up mics. So from day one, I remember the first episode, I even like click the website by mistake. I was debating, should I do this? And then Jeremy said, let me check. I was, let me click this. Oh, it sent it out. Oh my. So it was like accidentally, I've launched this, so I better keep it going. I was, like all these new platforms, you one click, you're like, oh my goodness. So that was how it happened. And then, but that happened for good. And I learned how to pick out mics and vocal mics, what's good for string, for piano, and learn how to use GarageBand, all these software, how to mix and edit tracks and multi-track from the beginning, just like do one track. And then now I learned all sorts of, and then mastering, mixing, releasing. So without the pandemic, we would have known nothing about how to do these things. So.
In my house, we call them pandemic positives, things that wouldn't have happened if we had not had the pandemic. It can be hard sometimes, but there are some good things that have come out of it. Deborah put in the chat box for anyone who wants to see the link to your Substack. So if you'd like to subscribe to Fei's daily music, I know a lot of us have been missing live music a lot. There's one thing you get used to in Nashville, and a definite not pandemic positive has been losing that. So hopefully people will be back performing live soon. Do you have anything planned post-pandemic?
You know what? Just like last week, the Nashville Earth Day Festival, that's going to be on April 24. That is going to be a Saturday. It's going to be, I think, at the Centennial Park. And it's an outdoor. I think it's going to be social distanced, everything, but I think maybe the first big outdoor festival the city is going to put on very carefully. And I will give a 40-minute solo set that day, I think about 4 p.m. ish. So once I have the information, because I just were like, okay, we made it happen, and it may just be released or announced because it's kind of, everyone's comfort zone is different. So I think everything was kind of organized last minute. But that is coming up, and it's in Nashville. Yes. So I'm very excited in Nashville. And then it's mostly the proper kind of traveling live performance will start next year. Actually, even Hello Goat Mountain, I will be doing a Hello Goat Mountain in Butler University next spring. It's actually already scheduled for this last year, because the piece and the music is really been touching, and a lot of performing arts centers were booking concerts, and then we all had to pause. So the coming year is resuming. So, and then the National Gallery at DC is also going to host Hello Goat Mountain. And then the Kennedy Center I would do a few solo concerts at the Kennedy Center next literally a year from now, and with workshop as well.
Sounds great. And are you working on another phase of Hello Gold Mountain or a follow-up?
At the moment, I haven't thought about it yet, because, well, maybe I haven't gotten out. I'm still kind of doing any kind of big project right now without knowing how it's going to be realized in a large scale. Even the venues will be open, will be even the concert presenters aren't talking about getting more than 4 musicians on stage. They're like, if they can book solo, they will do solo concerts. So with that, a lot of like the professionals in the field were sort of kind of scaling down things rather than kind of. But I have confidence it'll come back once we have better picture of what that if it's really people are going to come back to concert hall packed again, or how that's going to look like, because it's just so much effort, and then time and writing, and then community support, and then getting the word out. But I do have planned, and that's even with the pandemic, there's a lot of going on. I know it's somewhere in my brain. I just it's brewing. It's been brewing, and I'm just waiting for the boom again. Yeah, I've always like large choral music or choir, symphony. Yeah, symphony. Oh, I'm a dream. Is also like do like a structured improvisation with symphonic for like full orchestra. I think it's never been done, but I have confidence that can happen for classical musicians, because it's so that's
great. We'll look forward to it. One of our members posted in the chat that he's seen you performing on traditional Chinese instruments around this area, and performances with traditional American musicians like Abigail Washburn and Stephen Humphreys. So, it is Music City. Who would you say has been your most interesting partnership in terms of playing with people who are into traditional American music like that?
Oh, wow. Well, in Nashville is my Abigail Washburn and I just released a new record. Oh, not new anymore. It's in the middle of pandemic last year on Smithsonian Folkways Recordings, and it's a mixture of American folk songs and Chinese folk songs. Not bluegrass. Well, a little bit bluegrass style with banjo, because Abby plays the banjo and I play guzheng. And and then we sing. Our songs are bilingual in Chinese and English, and sometimes mixed together, sometimes just back to back, and it's quite fun, including a couple of Chinese old opera style, which is quite in a fun way, contemporary way. So that's a very interesting way of collaborating. And also Abby's husband, Bela Fleck, who's a banjo master, and also working with him has been really amazing. I mean, he's just done many productions with different genres. And I also with a jazz musician. I just feel like I can't. I mean, the most recent, I've collaborated with a lot of musicians. So most recent is this record with Abby and Bela. I've been big fan of Doc Watson, and I've been listening to Dolly Parton's America podcast. I loved it. So now I feel it just like the artists, the musicians who's had a very interesting life experience, and that I feel that their music has got to be really interesting. So that's kind of how I kind of, if I meet people, just hear their life it's a almost, I started to translate in my head as like songs. Yeah, and I also miss playing with my old friends in New York, and they're some of the really interesting jazz musicians. um yeah, my friend clarinetist Ned Rothenberg, and saxophonist John Zorn. They're all really just they're all so interesting in their own way. I can't say which one is my favorite. They're all unique, and strong. So I love them all.
All right. Hard to choose.
Yes,
Like you've had the opportunity to play with a lot of amazing people.
it's been so I feel very blessed. Yes, and I so look forward to playing more. Yeah, like the ones I've always had also a big fan of Middle East and Central Asian and Balkan Peninsula, the music from that whole region, the music scale and the ancient sound and the rhythms as well. Oh, as also North Africa. Or entire Africa. Oh gosh, I know life is too short to cover them all. I gotta do it.
I resonated with what you said earlier about trying to be cognizant of how much you don't know and always exploring new things. I think that's a great attitude to have.
Thank you.
It's not an easy transition given what we've been talking about, but I know you spoke with Deborah a little bit ahead of time about talking about current issues in the AAPI community. Can you just talk a little bit about what that's been like for you around the pandemic?
Yes. This the anti-Asia Asian what do you call it, the Asian hate crime wave I have been aware of for not personally in my but on the social media or in the news for probably more than a year, since basically COVID started. But because I have friends in the Asian American community for many years, it's not a new issue even for me to be aware of this, because I have also been attending the Asian American Justice Advancing Justice Conference in the last few years. Have friends who are also organizers of the convention that they do change each year. The last one I went to was in Atlanta, but this particular last year has been just crazy bad. That from because I also lived in New York, and there seems like in cities like concentrated, these kind of crimes are concentrated in New York, San Francisco, Bay Area, and LA. And then I also have most of my friends, Asian American friends, are from those regions. So over the years, I've come constantly hear their posts or their uncle's store got painted or crashed. And it's been in my orbit of information. And but this year, but I always had a little worry and fear because the gun situation in America. I know that the misunderstanding and hate, it has been happening all over the world. However, not everywhere is like America that have such easy access to lethal weapons. And so that's been a kind of a concern of me, that also happens on campus, in schools, and the synagogue, and churches. These things are constant in the news. So I personally have been having concerns about just encountering crazy person for almost no reason, just bad luck that day or somehow, just and then with the current COVID anti-Asian wave that has quadrupled the concern that but since I moved to Nashville, I mean, Nashville has been, I personally have never encountered any of that situation. It's just been welcoming from day one. But I can't speak my own situation to see like what's been happening, so crazy and so ugly. At the same time, I have discussed even with Jeremy, is that Jeremy, maybe you should go to Publix, and then I will just continue to go to KNS, the international market. It was kind of crazy to even have that discussion. So maybe it's for safety reason, I would just go to get our Asian groceries in the Asian market, and you get the American groceries from Publix. He said, "Oh, don't be silly," but it's like, but and then it's just in the back of my mind. Who knows? Sometimes it's. So I sometimes I started to wear a like baseball cap, or just to not or a mask. Of course, we have to wear a mask anywhere. Anyways, it's all kind of helpful way. So, I'm gonna put a goggle on and then a mask and then a hat. So kind of no one knows I'm Asian. I have been actually doing that since the Atlanta shooting, literally. So that's what kind of goes on my mind. And my seeing the older elderly Asian people got harmed on the streets, or even murdered, or just beaten. I just have to kind of, I have my parents with me, but they don't come out so much. I mean, it's also in the middle of the pandemic, and we live in the middle of the forest. That whole the reality of our home situation also has kind of separated us from the densely populated area that you just have to encounter everyone on the street every day you step out the door. But the concern is still with me that I do paying more attention to my surroundings these days. If I go out by myself, or I have my dad with me at the grocery store, just in the back of my mind, like, or should I carry a gun as well? With all these kind of crazy thoughts, so-called, has become incredibly reasonable. So that's been the direct effect in my life, daily life, that I think about, so that's
a heavy burden to have to bear.
Yes, it is. It makes me, I feel like strong, but because I can't not feel strong, because I have a family to look after. So I kind of sort of have to ignore the fear and to face the solution. I constantly, okay, what can I have no time to feel fearful. What can I do if I encounter someone, what can I do to protect myself? And what's this scenario? I started to do calculation of these things. So that's like a real reality to me. Right. That it's really, really. I remember that day when I read the news, and then hearing, and I've never felt that way. That I couldn't get up from bed, and just my whole body was cold, kind of like cold for a whole day, and short of breath. And because it's just knowing that, okay, people look like me is a clear target. Someone really want to get rid of me. So that's kind of like, oh gosh, wow.
I want to pause and just make sure that everyone else on the call has a chance to ask questions. If you want, you can put them either in the chat and I'll see them there, or I think we're a small enough group, you can just unmute and ask questions if you would like to. In the meantime, while people think of their own questions, do you think you'll ever write something reflecting on the pandemic? So I've been seeing a lot of articles recently encouraging people to kind of reflect back over the past year, and if they have a way to artistically express, either through writing or journaling or creating something, to try to document the time, the things that we lost, the things that we gained. Do you feel like you'll be compelled to do something artistic around the pandemic ever?
Yes, I think one kind of potential project is, since I have been writing music for more than a year now, every day, and these are all my materials. I have literally 300 compositions, because in the composition process in our brain is that that sound is already like is the most truthful expression of me living through the pandemic, is through these music, the artistic reaction. And then if one day, because if when we get out of the pandemic, my reaction, pure reaction, reflection will be, oh, a relief. So at that time I can't fake the time that I was living through it, because I would be writing for like a big relief or big part, maybe, it's like but I've been documenting through writing everyday music, and then eventually every piece, there's almost like, the music form a suite, like Peer Gynt is a suite. So every short composition is within that suite. I can call it a big thing, but it's combined with several pieces. I would love to orchestrate the I say for a solo piece, but to turn into a larger form, orchestral form, or string quartet, or a quintet, or wind, or brass, because that's also like what composers do, like pictures exhibition is also similar, like a suite. The original composition was by Mussorgsky on solo piano, and then what made it famous was Ravel turned into orchestra version, but it was really written for solo piano. So and then that's part of what composers do, is to rearrange music from just one instrument into a big opera or big something. So that I would love to find opportunity to choose like to turn into a bigger suite of orchestra music, and to as a part of it reconnect to the pandemic, to at our time, to continue to well, after even we're no longer around, and if the music can stay, to really share the story, what went through, at least from where I live, from my time. So so that would be, yeah. And after the pandemic's over, I would love to write something to celebrate. It was like, gosh, we're out of this. So but yes, yeah, but the daily music really has been a exact, accurate documenting my living through with music as well. And a lot of it, I don't know, it's just it's whatever that came out of me that day, but it's really throughout. And every post, I have a little writing that goes with the composition. So these are all also the documents that I am thinking about, like a new way of presenting music, making music, almost like a musical novel in a way. So yes.
We'll all look forward to seeing that when you have it put together and arranged just the way you want.
I would love to.
Does anyone else have questions they want to ask?
I did have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I might have missed it, but how do we watch Hello Gold Mountain? How would we see that performance, a performance of it?
I can. I'm happy to share. I have recorded. I mean, also documented a music film, and I would love to share the premiere concert. And there's a trailer as well with all of you. And I can send. I'm happy to send it to Deborah, and the whole community can see it as well. And yes, Yes, it was premiered at Blair and with Chatterbird, and Rabbi Shifton and his family came as well because his parents met in Shanghai, and so he gave his blessing, and so it was a very special night. Yes, and we'll have the link. Mm-hmm.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Other questions from the audience? Deborah just posted the link in the chat for the performance.
Yeah, Faye, I'm not sure if the whole, I posted the website for Hello Gold Mountain. I'm not sure if the whole composition is there, but that's the website. And yes, we were, I was there the night that it was premiered, and Rabbi Shifton and his family were there. And actually, I believe it was his daughter who read, there's a poem that was a piece of the performance, and Sarah Rose read that poem.
That's beautiful.
I have it on YouTube, and I will share that link. It's yes.
Wonderful.
Great. Yes, if you send it to me, I'll share it, because yeah, it was a beautiful evening, and like I said, I don't remember who wrote the poem, but I just remember that Sarah Rose read the poem as a piece of the composition.
As we're wrapping up, Faye, could you maybe tell us a little bit about Chatterbird and your work there?
Yes, I have been a composer in residence for Chatterbird Ensemble since 2017. They are a contemporary classical chamber ensemble, and their mission is to also perform living composers' work, which is really needed support, and that's why we have work and have performers who are passionate about playing our work, and they've done wonderful projects for the community, and so we teamed up and applied for the grant for Hello Gold Mountain, and they did a lot of community work as well. So they constantly, also, during the pandemic, everyone had to stop. So I'm not sure when their next live performance will be, but I'm sure everyone is gearing up, and as we all being vaccinated, I'm pretty sure there's going to be something quick. Oh, I also have another premiere coming up, also like a pandemic premiere, I forgot. It's coming up later this month. Is with another chamber ensemble based in Nashville called Intersection Ensemble. It's the director is Kelly Corcoran, who is a woman conductor, orchestra conductor, and she commissioned me through the grant called I think it's for women composers specific around the country, and then the ensemble commissioned 20 women composers to write just for solo instruments. So we pick a solo instrument to write for, and then the performer from Intersection Ensemble would, a soloist will learn it and then record it, and then the composer would do a kind of a introduction about the piece. So that my piece will be premiering later this month. I will also share that with Deborah, with all of you. I wrote for double bass. I'm never, I have written for double bass, but only in a symphony. But writing for solo double bass is quite of a different mission. It's such a huge instrument. It's like a big boat. So I had like 2 sessions with a performer just to learn. Writing for something that you don't play. It's challenging and exciting. I hope I did a good job. But I'm really excited about the premiere. Is there going to be a video showing? So I will share the information. They're just the filmmakers. They're all just putting the final package together this coming week.
Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to it, and Deborah can send it out.
Yes, I'll be happy to share it. I was just going to mention that I have been reading that they are getting ready to open parts of Broadway in limited audiences, so not a full audience. So our hope is that the music venues here will also be able to start to do that, that we'll be able to get back to some of the live venues, even if it's a smaller audience that's able to be inside.
Yes. Well, we really miss the real interaction. the energy from the audience. I've been doing a lot of Zoom, throughout the thing. It's
Not the same.
it's a little bizarre. Often I can't see anyone, just myself on the screen. I'm like,
Well, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. This has been really informative and fun, and we very much look forward to seeing you perform again live after the pandemic, and in the meantime, via some of these online methods. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Faith. Thank you so much for making time for us, and thank you for your creativity that is at the top of my inbox every morning. Every morning I have your new composition. I've been so impressed.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Thank you for your support, and let's hope we'll all stay safe. And then I would love to bring my music to the Jewish community, and as soon as it's safe enough, and I would love to share my music live performance with you all.
Yes, hopefully our next interaction will be a little bit more in person. We all hope.
For sure. That would be wonderful. Thank
you. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much.
Just a few announcements for everyone before we tap off. First of all, next week, Deborah, we're having Noam, is that right?
Right. Noam will be here to share a little bit about the our community Israel Independence Day celebration, which is a week from Sunday. So she'll be here a week from today to talk about it, and the event itself is April the 18th from 4 to 6 in the Akiva parking lot.
Yes, so it's an in-person, socially distant
it's a
event.
drive-in, a
so
drive-in,
actually lay eyes on another human. It's a great way to do that. We also, next Tuesday on the 13th at 7:30, we'll have our community Yom HaZikaron service. That one's online. You can get the link from this week's eBlast. On the 22nd of April at 7 o'clock, CRC and NowGen are co-sponsoring an Earth Day program called the 100% Solution, a Plan for Solving Climate Change, with author Solomon Goldstein Rose. And then on Wednesday, April 28th at 7 o'clock, we have a program with Israeli journalist and news anchor Tal Henrich. And I think those are, Deborah, did I miss anything?
That's it for the next couple of weeks. That gets us through the next couple of weeks. Yes.
So we can keep you busy in April with further events celebrating all of our Yoms and learning a little bit more about Israel. So,
and then we can also just hold the date for May 4th for the event with Barry Weiss.
Yep, May 4th at 7 p.m. We're co-sponsoring an event with Barry Weiss, and we'll have more details about that later, but do save the date. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for everyone for being on the call today. Happy weekend, happy spring. Enjoy the beautiful weather.